From Ticker, this is Black Belt Leader. Here's Karen Gately.
Welcome to Black Belt Leader, proudly powered by Miller Leith, recruitment specialist and career services provider. I'm Karen Gately, the founder of Corporate Dojo. On our show today, we're going to be talking about how we can ensure that we're either acquiring or hiring great leaders. Our two guests will be here to share their wisdom, and we're going to start off with Daryl Hardage from Seguity. Daryl's joined us before. We've asked him to come back today to really help us understand where due diligence processes often let organisations down, and what he's learnt about making sure that we are doing a good assessment of future talent through those processes. So let's start by looking at a couple of facts about the DD process in Australia. According to research, the failure rate of mergers and acquisitions sits between 70 and 90%. So clearly we're going to be asking Daryl to help us understand that in a lot more detail. A KPMG study indicates that 83% of merger deals did not boost shareholder returns. So clearly, in the vast majority of circumstances, organisations are going down the M&A path to realise greater returns, and clearly that's not always happening. So welcome to the show, Daryl.
Great to be back, Karen.
Really good to have you here. So as an opening point, help us to really understand what you see. When it comes to the DD process, where does it fall down, and why are so many of these deals just not panning out the way that they're intended to?
It's when you look at those numbers, it's fascinating. And
it is, isn't it?
And the interesting thing is that you have highly paid and experienced boards that vote on a strategy. Then they engage, a highly educated and paid CEO who then goes out into the market and pays good money for due diligence. And then they acquire the business, they vote to do it, and then they have those kind of results and lose a fortune.
Yeah.
And part of the challenge is that the current DD process has commercial due diligence, financial due diligence, and legal due diligence. But at the end of the day, they're buying a business that has people and processes and customers, and they aren't measured enough, if at all.
Yeah.
And so what happens is we do customer due diligence, and that's the wedge that's missing, because the financial results are the results of customer behaviour, and customer behaviour is directly proportional to the service that the team and the culture of the company, and that comes right back to the leadership.
Yeah.
So when you put those metrics into the numbers, it's fascinating, the big black void that's there. And so the critical thing that's needed is to make sure you've got an independent market perspective on how this company performs and how the people perform. Because our data shows very clearly when you have a highly performing customer experience score, it always talks about leadership and culture first. It's about people.
Yeah.
Rarely do you have a business that all they do is rave about the product,
Yeah.
because there's so many competitive products and things in the market. The real thing people talk about are how well they connect with that business, how well they're served, how the people treat them, and of course, due diligence is about buying customers and therefore buying the loyalty. And the loyalty is directly linked to team, and team is directly linked to leadership and culture.
Absolutely.
And it's not measured.
Yeah.
And so that's why the numbers fail.
Yeah, absolutely. So is that the primary reason you see those failures? Is it poor leadership, culture, loss of that client loyalty? Are those the key things?
Look, in many cases, that's what we see and what we believe. Because the thing is with it that when you look at, if you have a really strong business and they want to acquire, because it is a good strategy to do, but when you have a great business with a good culture and leadership, and then they acquire a business that doesn't fit, it's a very different culture and leadership, but the products might line up and the demographics and the market might line up. But of course, when we buy that business, now we've got to bring the family together.
Yeah,
it's like a marriage.
Right.
And you end up with a really ugly business divorce, because the thing is that they don't align. And so therefore the customers sense this, and the loyalty drops off. And that's why the figures fail so much, because people go, I used to like this business, but now they've joined teams and I don't like it anymore.
And often there's just not now a clear new us, a one company vision, let alone culture, let alone alignment. Often what we observe is organisations that, are on a process to acquire a lot of businesses over a short period of time will end up with a whole bunch of individual entities really that aren't all on the same page.
That's right.
So, what in your view can organisations do to assess, for example, as we're talking about leadership capability, who are we actually going to inherit if we actually acquire this business? How can they go about looking at that, and culture, and then obviously ultimately customer?
One of the things that we see as critical for this is to change the way the flow's done. So if you've identified a business you want to acquire, if you go down the rabbit hole of the financial and legal due diligence, it's months and months and enormous amounts of cash. And they still don't find this out. So if you actually look at customer due diligence and team due diligence, and we say do this in the first 30 days, and if the customer due diligence is a low score and it's complaining about service, then you immediately have to go and look at culture and leadership, because why aren't they caring?
Yeah.
And if the scores are really high, it gives you confidence that the team is good, and still do your due diligence. And so when you look at it, and if you were to look at people who are going in this path right now, and you ask them, what are you doing in a very strategic and predictable model around measuring team due diligence? So how loyal are the team to the company, and also the customers? And because quite often what happens is when the merger's announced, people jump ship and bail.
Yes.
And you think, why? But that's because they weren't really that loyal to the leadership anyway. And so they think, oh, this is bad, I'm going to have more work to do, I don't like this, and they just leave.
Yeah.
Where good, strong companies, people think, great, this is exciting.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to the top.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. In my experience, what can be a very practical roadblock is the fact that a lot of these processes are highly confidential. So there's only a certain number of people who are in the tent, if you like.
Absolutely.
So going out to staff and asking them what's your view right now can be challenging, and something that's pushed back quite strongly. And you can well imagine from customer as well. Going out and asking our customers might alert people to what we're doing. What would you say to leaders that are concerned about that? How do we get this deeper data?
It's the strategy that you use.
Yeah.
And that's why it's got to be independent, and it's very common. It's a very common thing to do customer experience research, but you've got to put the right questions and the right strategy behind it, so you can independently have that done. So a company, I've done due diligence where the only person knows the company's for sale is the CEO. And they've said, we're going to do some customer research because it's a good idea, and we're going to do assessment of the team as well because we want to blend the two and see how we're going. What's really going on is a full assessment to see how well that's performing, and then the truth comes out. So really what you want to be able to do is, and at the end of the day, this is all about the investors as well, because they're putting up the money with good faith and trust that this is a good company with good leadership and it's going to make us stronger. But when the metrics aren't there, it's left to guessing, and it usually comes back to the financials, which is left to the accountants, and they're busy doing their stuff, but they don't understand leadership, culture and customers. It's not their gig. So when that's left out of the mix and they just look at numbers, there's no surprise the results are what they are.
And it'll be interesting to see as we move forward into the future if the expectation that businesses who are acquiring, who are in the market looking to purchase, want access to this data. Therefore, businesses who are wanting to be sale ready need to be able to demonstrate this data and get on the front foot.
There's going to be a lot of activity coming up in this whole situation, and there's companies that are going to be very stressed, and businesses in private equity firms and so on, they are looking for those distressed businesses because sometimes it's the products, supply chains and things that they have that's of value. They're not worried about the rest of it. But for a lot of others, it is a very important time now to acquire and build strength because you don't know what's coming. It's a very uncertain marketplace. But the one thing that must be very, very clear in any merger and acquisition right now is leadership, culture and the team and the alignment to the customers, because it's all about customer loyalty first and team loyalty. Because without that, you end up buying a car park and that's all you get.
I love that. It's true though, isn't it? It's like, what have we ended up with? I've certainly seen one organisation that spent a lot of money acquiring a business, again, had exactly the issues that we're talking about. There was just a void of leadership. There was a really toxic culture. And they really struggled to put a strategy around that to get everybody on the same page, to make some tough decisions, for example, around alignment and the way we want to be collectively. And ultimately what they ended up with was a bunch of equipment that they had to offload.
And look, the thing with this is too, is that in fairness to the companies, a lot of people are really good at what they do. And then they've got to take on this whole new role of bringing two organisations together under a cloud of secrecy without causing too much friction to the market. And they just assume that they have those skills. Yeah. And this is where the need for bringing in outside consultants and good ones is gold, because they will, as you know, with what you do, bringing the leaders together and getting their fears and concerns out of the way and getting them on the same page, it filters down to the front line, because no matter what's happening up the top, it's felt down at the front line. And of course, that's what the customers feel. And when the whole thing turns south, customers leave, business goes broke, staff leave, and it ends up with those statistics of
70 to 90%.
70 to 90%.
That's right. What I often see is we completely underestimate the impact of people's emotions, their emotional intelligence, their egos. So a classic scenario is we're going by, for example, I don't know, an accounting or a financial advisory practice. Yes. We bring that organisation, part of the business into our business, and we completely underestimate how the founder of that organisation, who's going to continue to work in the business, is now going to feel about not being a business owner. And their ability to actually let go of some of the decision making, and that emotional complexity is something we see really derailing a lot of these M&A opportunities.
And when you look at the wash up and the analysis of it from a psychological point of view, from team and culture, they can tick all the boxes and go, well, that happened. It was predictable, but it wasn't thought of at the time. And quite often, we want the founder to stay in the business, and they get their paycheck and they're just like, I'm checking out.
Yeah,
and the whole
semi-retired at my desk.
Yeah, semi-retired.
Not always, but absolutely.
It can happen. So it's what's the strategies for these things, and it's just having an outside perspective that's always got to be there, because you can't assume that what we have and what we've created with a great team of people is enough for the next stage.
Yeah. Absolutely agree.
Too much left to chance.
Absolutely agree. Thank you, Daryl. We're going to go for a short break, and when we return, we're going to be here with our WTF at Work segment for the week.
Hey, good morning.
Ticker's new breakfast show.
Well, most of the time in the morning, I annoy people.
I think Ben is so fabulous. He is wild, he is warm, he is witty.
The first time I met Alana, I realised I wanted to have a drink with her.
You never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
Kick off your morning with Ticker Jumpstart.
We are playing in uncharted territory.
This preparation takes me all night.
It doesn't matter how long I take, because Ben will always take longer.
Ticker Jumpstart with Benjamin Norris and Alana McLean.
You're going to get some different stuff with us, and we're going to be unapologetic for it.
You do realise it's the morning, so you don't need to be the human coffee.
Our partner Miller Leith was founded in 2012, and over the past 7 years has carved out a name synonymous with true partnerships and quality outcomes. You may know them by their blue couch logo, it's catchy. Based in Melbourne and Sydney, their focus has always been centred around true partnership with industry sectors and job groups, where they have key expertise such as FMCG, retail, supply chain, engineering, quality, sales and marketing, HR and business support. Miller Leith offers talent search for permanent and contracting roles. They also have expertise with career transition. If you're looking for an authentic talent partnership, call Miller Leith today.
There are now more ways to watch Ticker. Download our apps for Apple and Android devices. We're live on Twitter and YouTube Live. And you can catch us on Amazon Alexa and Google Home. Head to the Ticker website for more. From Ticker, this is Black Belt Leader. Here's Karen Gately.
And welcome back to Black Belt Leader, now for our WTF at Work segment.
Say what?
Alana, welcome to the show.
Hello, welcome once again. Tuesday, my gosh.
I actually feel a little bit nervous. It's like, okay, what are you going to throw out?
Well,
hit us with it.
WTF, we've had a few curling ones of late. Let's take a colleague of mine constantly chewed tobacco in the office. He would spit it into a cup on his desk and leave it there all day. When approached and asked to stop, he said, "You can't stop me. The policy says no smoking tobacco, not no chewing tobacco." First of all, ill. And second, WTF.
Daryl?
I don't understand the problem.
We'll bring in the tobacco down, shall we?
I'm just thinking, was it a clear jar or because that would make it worse, wouldn't it?
There's a lot that is wrong.
I've got a really weak stomach. I've got to tell you. I think visualising that.
Do people still chew tobacco? Are we back in like the 1930s? That's so weird.
I'm
Nothing would
actually
surprise me anymore.
quite confused by that. But I do think it is a massive WTF because let's just have some common courtesy for how gross it is to have a cup of spit on your desk all day.
Not COVID safe. Not COVID safe.
No, not COVID safe. And what about the auditory people that just hear that chewing and, it's just, yeah.
Oh, I don't think it's really, I don't think there's anything good about that.
No.
And what often just has me killing myself laughing is what people think is okay in the workplace.
How far they can push the boundaries.
Yeah, like on what level would you not think that that's gross? I don't know. Maybe I'm really showing my bias.
Can you just, if you're working in the business, can you go, okay, well, we're just changing the policy. So now you can, is it as simple as that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I would probably be doing that.
Certainly the HR response would be, no problem, we'll have an updated version of the policy to you this afternoon.
The question is, how long did it go on for? That would be a reflection of leadership, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, it would. Again, It reminds me of last week's WTF, right? It's like there's some things that we just ignore, like that was a crock pot of cabbage soup, I believe, in the office.
This is almost grosser than that.
I know.
At least cabbage soup, you might get a little cheeky bit if she's got leftovers. Nobody wants leftover tobacco.
I think we did agree, though, that cabbage soup was gross.
Yeah,
and
all the soups.
Of all the soups to bring into the office. But I think, just that common courtesy and awareness that somebody's got to sit next to you, someone's got to walk past you. And just the whole process of spitting into the cup.
I just had a physical reaction.
It really is gross. Well, thank you again for bringing the highs of and the lows of the business world to our attention.
I know. And aren't we glad that we work here with no crock pots and no tobacco?
It's disgusting. Thank you again. We're going to take another short break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by Glenn Bartlett, our regular workplace lawyer from Bartlett Workplace. So thanks again to Daryl for being here. Really appreciate all your wisdom, and Alana again for giving us that insight to another odd way of behaving in the workplace.
Hey, good morning.
Ticker's new breakfast show.
Well, most of the time in the morning, I annoy people.
I think Ben is so fabulous. He is wild, he is warm, he is witty.
The first time I met Alana, I realised I wanted to have a drink with her.
You never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
Kick off your morning with Ticker Jumpstart.
We are playing in uncharted territory.
This preparation takes me all night.
It doesn't matter how long I take, because Ben will always take longer.
Ticker Jumpstart with Benjamin Norris and Alana McLean.
You're going to get some different stuff with us, and we're going to be unapologetic for it.
You do realise it's the morning, so you don't need to be the human coffee.
From Ticker, this is Black Belt Leader. Here's Karen Gately.
Welcome back to Black Belt Leader. Now we're joined by Glenn Bartlett from Bartlett Workplace. Glenn, welcome back to the show.
Morning, Karen. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I can very faintly hear you, so I'm going to quickly throw a question to you while we work on my ability to hear you. Glenn, obviously we've been talking this morning about the need to really focus on the types of leaders. With Daryl, we're talking about through the acquiring process that we're bringing into our business. But obviously when we're recruiting as well, it's critically important. And I was keen to get your views as an employment law specialist around what are some of the failings that you see in leadership, or what's some of the priorities from a leadership perspective that you think organisations need to be getting right?
Yeah, look, in terms of the key here, Karen, the first thing I'd say is that it's almost a given that whether we're talking about doctors, lawyers, mining engineers, paramedics, there's got to be a level of professional competence in terms of talent. But what's most important is that the leader, you focus on their values, their vision, and their people management skills. And you think about how you can do that beyond the interview process. Can you hear me clearly?
So, Glenn, again, unfortunately, I've got sound issues, but I'm just going to trust that you're saying great things. I'm going to throw another question at you, because certainly our audience will be able to hear you. It's just my earpiece mucking around. So what I want you to really help us to understand is, when it comes to a leader's character and, how they deal with some of the complex things in a workplace, what are some of the mistakes, again, you see that comes from a place of not having the character traits leaders need to?
Look, I think the first thing in terms of character, we're really talking about values and making sure that the individual's personal values are going to line up, and there's going to be alignment with yours and the organisation's. If in the hiring process that's clearly not the case, then you're talking to the wrong person. That's the first thing. In terms of people management skills, and particularly the ability to handle crisis under pressure, again, leaders have to be very calm and cool under pressure. The character and values piece certainly helps make the right decisions, the right choices.
We're going to go for a short break, and hopefully when we're back, we'll be able to sort out the sound issue, and we'll continue to have a chat with Glenn.
Hey, good morning.
Ticker's new breakfast show.
Well, most of the time in the morning, I annoy people.
I think Ben is so fabulous. He is wild, he is warm, he is witty.
The first time I met Alana, I realised I wanted to have a drink with her.
You never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
Kick off your morning with Ticker Jumpstart.
We are playing in uncharted territory.
This preparation takes me all night.
It doesn't matter how long I take, because Ben will always take longer.
Ticker Jumpstart with Benjamin Norris and Alana McLean.
You're going to get some different stuff with us, and we're going to be unapologetic for it.
You do realise it's the morning, so you don't need to be the human coffee.
There are now more ways to watch Ticker. Download our apps for Apple and Android devices. We're live on Twitter and YouTube Live. And you can catch us on Amazon Alexa and Google Home. Head to the Ticker website for more. From Ticker, this is Black Belt Leader. Here's Karen Gately.
Welcome back to Black Belt Leader, where we're talking to Glenn Bartlett. Glenn, I am very confident now I'm actually going to be able to hear what you're saying, so apologies, and again, I look forward to playing it back later and hearing your responses.
No worries. Is that clearer?
Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
So again, obviously what we're talking to you about is effective leadership, and I asked you then to describe some of the mistakes leaders make that come from a character shortcoming. And I'm not sure what you've responded to that, but one of the things that I often observe is leaders who really struggle with their temper, for example, who really struggle with frustrations and then, deal with things in a way that ultimately get them in trouble. How often do you see that?
Well, look, a regular thing we say to leaders and in training and guiding leaders is no matter what, you need to remain cool, calm and collected. And particularly, a really important part, fundamental part of what you're doing is managing your teams and managing people. And it's very important to be, in control, not be getting angry, losing it. And probably the three big things that quite often don't come out of an interview process when you're hiring leaders is the values piece. Are they a values-based leader that's consistent with your organisation? Do they have a vision for the organisation? And they might be great technical experts, whether they're engineers, doctors, lawyers, whatever, but do they have strong people management skills?
Yeah.
And so it's really important to delve into those spaces think about some scenarios you can give them, some challenges, and obviously in the current climate, but it's crisis management, be able to handle the pressure. I go back to the values piece. The organisations that get that right will get the competitive advantage. We're seeing that in industry, we see it in sport, but there's some fundamentals there, and it starts at the top with your leaders, and their values have to be very much aligned with the organisation where you're going, and have to live them day in, day out, and make decisions based on that in a consistent manner. So these areas, you can flush out some of it in an interview process, But there's no substitute for thinking about, in that process, how can you give them some practical tasks, how reference check, and really find out, the character of the person, that background, how they perform in these different scenarios. But, I know I've said it before, but the people piece is such a core part of it. All the research, and if you think about it, the leaders that are really good on the people skills, even simple things like giving feedback, have a framework, know how to handle any challenges, know what records to keep, they are the very best leaders. And if you're interviewing someone who's technically great, but they don't have vision, don't have values, don't have the people management space, they're not the right person to hire as a leader.
Yeah. Oh, look, clearly I totally agree with you. It's our ability as a leader to create outcomes through other human beings. It's not just our technical competence that dictates whether or not we're able to be successful. In fact, I've seen many leaders who have staff reporting to them who are far more technically strong in what they do, but they're still a very effective leader because what their job is to enable the human part of the equation. How often do you see leaders who really feel out of their depth, something's blown up into be a legal issue and they really don't understand where it's come from?
Every day, because I think it's a...
I was expecting you would say that.
I'm not saying that I'm a self-serving. This is real, right? The biggest issue, in my view, from productivity and in this space in the country is that, and I can pick any industry because we worked across the whole country, every industry. We put our best operators into leadership positions in charge of, say, 500 people, and we actually don't give them the training support, make sure they've got that people management piece covered. It's a massive issue. So then, in identifying, I'm continually surprised senior people that are not aware of certain legal issues and doing certain things around people, like requiring them into meeting whilst they're on sick leave.
Yeah.
Terminating their employment whilst they're on sick leave. There's obvious things that you say, how does this happen? But it's, we've got a long way to go as a country to really support and educate our leaders.
Yeah.
But in hiring them, for me, it really starts from, that values, vision, people management. But if the values aren't aligned, they're not the right person for the organisation. We've got an attitude of, it's win at all costs. It's all about money. It doesn't matter about, forget about integrity, forget about teamwork, forget about trust, respect.
That's when we're going to have the issues. Absolutely. Yeah. Really appreciate your obviously contribution, but also your patience with us through this segment. Great to see you again, Glenn, and we look forward to having you again next time.
Karen. Well, I was going to say, it's always good to work with leaders that have plan B. So well done. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us on Black Belt Leader. If there are topics you would like us to cover, please get in touch. You can do that via, obviously, our website, corporatedojo.com, or any of our social media channels. And remember, you choose. Will you be an ordinary or an awesome leader of your people?
Hey, good morning.
Tickers in your breakfast show.
Well, most of the time in the morning, I annoy people.
I think Ben is so fabulous. He is wild, he is warm, he is witty.
The first time I met Alana, I realised I wanted to have a drink with her.
You never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
Kick off your morning with Ticker Jumpstart.
We are playing in uncharted territory.
This preparation takes me all night.
It doesn't matter how long I take, because Ben will always take longer.
Ticker Jumpstart with Benjamin Norris and Alana McLean.
You're going to get some different stuff with us, and we're going to be unapologetic for it.
You do realise it's the morning, so you don't need to be the human coffee.
There are now more ways to watch Ticker. Download our apps for Apple and Android devices. We're live on Twitter and YouTube Live. And you can catch us on Amazon Alexa and Google Home. Head to the Ticker website for more. Introducing Ticker Sport.
Mate, how exciting is it to kick off Ticker Sport? Mate, I'm as pumped as you, which is pretty pumped. We're here to talk sport, business, there's a market, there's a niche.
It's David Davidovich and Adrian Franklin tackling